Hello, this is a video about how I use SketchUp to design and build custom furniture. It's not really a tutorial at all in how to use SketchUp. There are a lot of great videos on YouTube, and SketchUp themselves have a very good channel here. It's really about how and why I use SketchUp as a tool to design and build my custom furniture. I find that it has the level of technology that I need to go in and intricately design and create layers that I'll show you for each component so I can turn them on and off. I use this during the design phase. I use it when I'm reviewing with clients over a Zoom call or in person to show them a table, bed, or a large credenza sideboard. I can explode the parts. I can show them doors on, doors off, drawers open, and I create many layers. It's a little bit time consuming, but once I do that, I find that it is very helpful for me to use it as a tool. And then once I am in the build phase, I will often come back to my SketchUp file, which you can see in the back, and I'll show you screen grabs later, of an intricate dimension and something that I may need to fine-tune, or I may find that in reality it doesn't work, and I'll go in and do a quick design. So I'm going to show you now some screen videos of SketchUp in use, how I use the layers, floating it around, flipping it, and I hope you enjoy this. So this is a project that I am about to start on. It is a custom walnut dining room table with an extension leaf. The client wants it to remain fairly small, to seat about 6 to 8 people without the leaf and 8 to 10 people with the leaf. So this is not going to be a tutorial exactly on how to use SketchUp. I think there are a lot of really good ones out there, including SketchUp's YouTube file. It's really how I use it. I found that SketchUp is the easiest tool to use. I don't do CNC, so I don't need some of the other programs that are required for CNC. I found them to be a little less intuitive and overcomplicate things. So here's the design of my table. Again, I can spin it around. I turn shadowing on because it gives me better perspective. Um, I have all the basic measurements in here, and I do that as I design it. So this table, leaves closed, is 48 inches wide for the table itself, and about 50 inches, a little more, for the leaves, the two leaves that will be extended. Um, the one important thing I find is to set up as many layers as you need. It's very important in SketchUp that you always stay within the untagged tag. It doesn't totally make sense the way they label it, but it's really important. You never move this pencil, the active layer, off untagged. Creates a lot of issues. So what I have here again is I have a layer for the two closed leaves and all their dimensions. Um, so if I wanted to add a dimension for the closed leaf, I can go in here and move this, and I can grab that measurement. Sometimes SketchUp has some things that drive one crazy, and this is 58 inches. Another thing that's important is I will always add this dimension, and this is never really mentioned that I've seen in SketchUp materials and tutorials. I will add it to the layer. So I have many dimensions. So this is my dimension for a layer or a tag called top closed two leaves. So I'm going to go down here and add it there. That way, when I open up the table and disable or close from view this layer of the two leaves, that dimension will disappear because I just don't need it. I don't want it. So I'll show you if I do that. that dimension disappears because I don't care about it anymore. So inside, and again, for me as a creator and a builder and a fine craftsman, and also for my clients, if I want to explain to them how this is going to work, I can show them. So this table will have two very high quality drawer slides and four support slats. And the top leaves, the two leaves, when they open, they will be attached to the drawer slide and they will open up and close. And one thing that was really critical for this client was they want to have an unbroken apron, which I have here and here. So they don't want to pull the legs out and have an apron that's split and then have to have a leaf that has an apron on it. It gets very bulky, it's not as strong, and things will start moving. So the leaf will just be a single 20-inch wide solid walnut leaf, and it will sit in here. The other thing, if I go back to this, is that they and I have decided that the table with closed, which will be the majority of the time, will be continuous grain. So when I buy my lumber and I pick the best lengths, I will use this 53-inch length. And again, that layer is up there, unfortunately. But that's the advantage of having SketchUp, again, to be able to do with a client in person or over a Zoom call. So if I turn this layer off, that dimension disappears. And then I add in the leaf, and you'll see now that dimension is attached to this. That's 20 inches. And then the top open, and I'll zoom out a little bit, shows you that the total length is 76 inches. The width stays obviously 48 inches. I have the original tabletop at 28 and 28. That's my 56 inches. And then 20. And I still have the dimensions of the apron and legs. And again, the nice thing to be able to show a client is that you can show that the apron is unbroken. And again, you can show it from all directions. And you've got the shadow. Again, clients, it helps them because they're not used to looking at a CAD program like this. So this is how I might show them how the leaves work and what they will get. So basically, there will be a slightly longer overhang, and the legs stay exactly where they are. You're never scraping the floor. You're never having an apron that moves. The other thing I've done for the last 3 or 4 years is showing clients what things look like for actual place settings and people, because there's a lot of engineering I do when I'm proposing an initial length. And originally, they wanted this table to be 48 inches square. And I learned in doing this, and I'm going to go back and close this and open this, that the slides and the mechanism needed to be internally 48 inches. So the mechanisms themselves needed to be 48 inches. So with my apron and the overhang, that's how I got to this 56 inch. I had to have that to have room for the slides that attach to these two leaves, the mechanism, and some wiggle room, plus the apron, plus a nice 2-inch overhang. So I showed them this in a Zoom call and they said, oh, yeah, it makes total sense. I can't, if I want a 48 inch, I need to have a smaller leaf or smaller extensions, and they didn't want to give that up. So, as I mentioned, I like to show clients how this will work in reality. So, I'll do this slightly overhead. So now I have a layer called Dinner Plates 8. And these are 11-inch plates, which is a nice sized plate. And you can see that the plates, and again, you can move them around, provide enough room
to be comfortable. So you could sit to at an end, and this can actually move over a tiny bit, and you can work with a client and say, okay, we're going to move that over, and we're going to move this over. And this is where SketchUp just makes things, in my mind, very easy. The only thing it's not great is aligning things. There are tricks where you bring this over and then drag it out, and it will align. But basically, I can show a client that you can sit 8 people here, or you can do 2 at a side and 1 in the middle, and that's really, really comfortable. And they said that will be most of the time. So this is showing them that the 48-inch by 56-inch is a very comfortable table for 6 and a comfortable table for 8 people. So now I wanted to be able to show them, okay, what happens if we try to fit 10 with the leaves? So now I turn this layer off. And again, this is the advantage of creating a lot of layers to turn things on and off. And I close the layer of the 2 leaves together. And then I open my leaf and the top. And then I have a layer called Dinner Plates 10. So now, and I'll zoom out and move this across a little bit. So now I can show that these plates, and again, you can move things around. So this plate, and again, I might move this over. So I might say, oh, I actually can move this over a little, and then I can move this over. And obviously you would want to align these. I haven't shown them the 10 because I just figured out how the mechanism was going to work. So I haven't shown them the 10, I only showed them the 8. So again, you see how easy it is to visualize this for them. And then they can say, oh, yeah, that works for 10. I can have 3 on a side, 2 on each end, or I could have 2 on each side and 2 in the middle, and it's really, really comfortable. You could have a lot of serving pieces and so on. But again, this is the advantage of having lots of layers. And I also did the same thing, and we'll go back to turn this off and turn this off and go back here. So this is my original plan. And then I did, well, they wanted to know, well, what about seats? Some seats are 22 inches wide in the front and go back to 17. So again, as a furniture designer, I don't happen to build chairs, but I need to work with what the client's going to have. So again, I built in chairs, and I'm going to go to a standard view of top. So now I have the chairs, and I can move this around. These chairs are a little bit farther out, but this is a 21-inch chair front, and that's what they said they were going to use. So you can see, oh, it is actually a little bit tight. And then if I turn on the dinner plates, that's why I originally had this plate up here. And again, we need to finalize with the client. So if they're going to go with that wide a chair rather than something that's 19 in the front and 17, because almost every chair is actually a trapezoid like this, then I would take this plate and I would move it back. And I'd say, okay, we're going to do that. And it's still comfortable. It's still doable. You know, if you're having a big dinner party, people are hopefully friendly. And then I move this, and then I do the same thing with these. And then this, it's one of the annoying things of SketchUp is it doesn't like to release things as well as it should. And I'd move this over a little bit. And again, I might do a version of this with only 6 if they want to see that. Again, the advantage of many, many layers in SketchUp. And this usually works better from an overhead view because I don't import in a whole chair object, which you can do from the SketchUp library. But now what I would do is I would turn plates 8 off, I would turn seats off, Again, the advantage of having many layers. And I turn on my leaf and my extensions. So these are pulled out. This is my 20-inch leaf. And now I turn on dinner plates 10, and I have another layer separated as seats 10. So now you see this is how it's going to work in reality. It's going to be friendly, but doable. These people have very nice, these people have to be good friends. So again, I can move things around. I can show the client what it'll look like in reality. Again, the only thing is I don't have a full three-dimensional seat. I have what they told me was their front width, which is the most important, which was 21 inches. The back in reality would be a trapezoid of probably 19 or 18 inches because almost all chairs go back. So again, this is the advantage. Now, for me as a fine craftsman and builder, I would turn all this stuff off, and I would probably turn off the table layers. And now I can go in and say, what does this joint look like when I zoom all the way in? So I always like a 1/8 inch inset in my aprons, just for a little bit of shadow line and a little bit of depth. And now I can see and I can do measurements on how my mortise and tenons for my long rails and my short rails are going to come into here. And so I can look at it at its simplest level, and I could even take the long aprons off, and or I could take the legs off and show the long and the short apron. So you have as much flexibility. It takes a little bit of time, and you've got to organize it. Um, and the one other thing, and I'll bring this in here, is this is an extension that allows me to get a materials list, sorry, parts list. Um, so these are from what SketchUp calls a component. So once you have a short rail, for example, and an apron, and you create a group around it, and then you call it a component. Well, once you do that, the system is going to tell me. So when I go buy my lumber, it's going to say walnut. I've got two short aprons. They're 41 inches by 3.5 by 3/4. So when I'm buying my what we call 4/4 lumber at a hardwood dealer, which is 3/4 inch once you mill it and finish it, I know exactly what I'm going to get. So this is a nice thing because I can take it as an Excel and print this out and go and buy lumber. So that's again how I use SketchUp, and I'll put the legs back in. Um, so please like and subscribe. You can watch my videos on my previous project, which is a hickory kitchen table. And after this, I will be building a really complex for the same client, um, a walnut sideboard with two double doors on each end and a set of drawers in the middle. That'll have hand cut dovetails on all four corners. So take a look at that. I have other videos on my YouTube channel where you're seeing this, as well as my website, which is simonmetzwoodworking.com. Thanks very much. Bye.